All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Yusuf Kadi. I'm a sophomore mechanical engineering student, and I am running to be your internal vice president. So before I get into the speech, I'd like to explain a few of these pictures. This gives you a little insight into who I am and what I like to do. First one, just a picture of me. You can see it's the same person. Then I have a picture of my car. It's an Infiniti G37. I'm really passionate about cars, and that's one of the reasons that I even became a mechanical engineer. Third, 3D printing. This is a relatively new hobby for me. I actually just built my printer earlier this week. So I ordered it just a couple weeks ago, and now it's printing great. Really loving the hobby so far. And the fourth one is a picture taken when I was speaking at the Board of Regents meeting earlier this semester. For those that don't know, I chair a committee called SFAC. It oversees around $23 million. And there was a small dispute over where funding should be spent, so multiple perspectives were taken to the meeting to sort of hash that out. So that's a little bit about me. Now I'd like to go into, my engagement with ASME and where I hope to take the organization. So again, I am running for Vice President Internal. So I've been fairly involved with the university community for the 2 years that I've been here. I was elected to represent the College of Engineering in UH's student government, and I completed that term last year. I was appointed to be the chairman of a budgeting committee on campus that oversees $23 million in funding, like I mentioned earlier. And of course, I served as the community service officer for ASME for this past year. My attention was split between all of these leadership roles, as well as classes this past year. But this upcoming year, I decided that I'd like to narrow down my focus to ASME and to take the organization as far as I can as internal vice president. So these previous leadership roles have provided me with countless and valuable experiences I hope to bring to ASME, ranging from managing diverse groups of competing perspectives with stakes often in the millions of dollars, negotiating with top university administrators, secure benefits for students, approaching complicated topics with an analytical outlook, and communicating effectively and diplomatically. I don't stand before you here today with just qualifications. I bring a vision with me to take ASME to new heights. Through my involvement with ASME the past 2 years, I've seen how our outgoing officers look into the future and envision ASME providing greatly increased resources to engineering students. Having served as an officer this year, I share that vision. For example, the Print Lab, started this fall semester, serves as a great resource for engineering students to complete projects both in and out of class and build up a resume of relevant experience. As proof of that, I have already personally used it to complete work for my co-op with Technique FMC, and I see many DBT and out-of-class design projects are printing on the printers at all times. Our core officers this year did a stellar job of founding the Print Lab, and I plan on taking it further. Through my previous leadership positions with the university, I've developed a thorough understanding of our university structure and the resources available to student organizations. The budgeting committee that I chair oversees AFB, the Activities Funding Board, and that's an organization that provides student organizations like ASME with funding to operate. I plan on ensuring that this resource is fully utilized in the future to create a larger share of funding for initiatives that further benefit the ASME membership. So to break it down a little bit more, there's this group on campus that provides funding for these student organizations. And in the past, a lot of engineering student organizations really don't take advantage of it, and they pay for their event expenses out of pocket when they don't necessarily have to. So, something that I would really push for is ensuring that all of the non-core officers submit AFB requests, and I would be coaching and helping people with becoming familiar with that process. And through submitting those AFB requests, the event expenses can be covered by the university, and that frees up funding for some of the some of the initiatives that really benefit engineering students, like the Print Lab, like professional development events, things like that. So by utilizing AFB as a resource for event expenses, additional financial burden is not placed on members, if the organization expands. And membership fees wouldn't rise, but more budget is available for extra initiatives. My previous experiences also led me to, make many difficult decisions and look at different competing priorities. And I think that gives a a great insight into how to manage, conflicts between officers in the future and fostering collaboration between everybody. Because no matter how smooth your organization runs, at some point there's going to be some conflict, even if it's over what type of bread to bring to an event. So I think that, some of my previous experience really helps with smoothing over some of those conflicts. And if conflict does erupt, I feel like I have strong conflict resolution skills, and that can be something that is greatly needed in any organization, no matter where. So I've personally greatly benefited from the resources ASME provides its members to receive the internship and co-op offers I did last semester. And I'd like to pay it forward by ensuring that these same resources are provided for the next generations. I want to strengthen ASME's relationship with Promise and the College of Engineering to foster collaboration and provide elevated programming. I have a lot of interest in this role, and I plan to execute it to the best of my ability. I welcome any questions. Thank you.
So, first off, good presentation. My question is, you talked a lot about being heavily involved in the SGA and being a chair of a large committee that handles $23 million. Are you going to be doing that again next year, or because that's going to be pretty difficult to balance?
Yeah, I was spread extremely thin this past semester, and that's definitely not something that I look forward to doing again. Quite frankly, with the change of administration and a new pool of people coming to SGA, it's running into some issues, and I've decided that I would take an exit and focus on other things. So to answer that question, yes, I will be focusing more on ASME and not splitting my attention between many different things.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, Yusuf, great speech.
Thank you.
The Vice President internal role calls for looking over the internal affairs and therefore having to delegate responsibilities. How would you handle delegation when there are committee members who have too much on their plate or might not have ASME as their top priority?
That's an awesome question. So first of all, I am not the type of leader that offloads all responsibility onto people that work with you and just oversees and manages. I am always willing to work together with the rest of the team in order to accomplish, whatever the goals set out. So, sorry, could you repeat the second part of the question?
Yeah, so how would you handle delegation when there are committee members who have too much on their plate or might not have ASME-UH as their top priority?
Right, so first, I think it's important to have good outreach efforts so that you do get a pool of candidates that have ASME as maybe not their first priority, but as an important priority in their plate. So I think that would be the first thing, just ensuring that you attract quality candidates to these positions, and that can be done various different ways. And then number two, if you do run into the issue where, not through their own fault, but maybe things pile up, like engineering is not an easy major to go through, and so I definitely understand if a committee member is unable to handle some of the responsibilities. First thing, if nobody's able to do it, I'm going to look at myself and see if I'm able to do it. And most of the time, I think that being willing to take up responsibility and carry the weight of others when they're not able to is a very positive thing to do for each other, because other times you might be in that same boat where you're not able to handle all of the responsibility that you have to deal with at this moment. So I think like a give and take like that, where if anybody's struggling, there's a constant communication so that nobody's just drowning without anyone noticing, and somebody else is available in order to pick up that slack, at least for the time being, until they're more able to fulfill their duties and they handle whatever was holding them back at the time.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Yusuf, I'll have your last question.
Sure.
In your opinion, what are the most significant issues currently facing our organization, and how do you propose addressing them?
Number one, the easy one I talked about is there's a lot of funding that's being missed out on. From what I understand, a lot of funding is used to just perform day-to-day activities, and a lot of those can be, those funds can be sourced elsewhere, and our funds that we raise can be primarily directed at benefiting our membership. So I think that's an easy problem to solve. Not easy, but a straightforward one. It's already identified. Second thing is, I think, recruiting. Our recruiting is, we can do a little bit better in terms of recruiting. There are a lot of events at the beginning of the year besides CADSPAC that ASME can have a greater presence in, as well as speaking to, like, building a relationship with the engineering college and speaking to students through that, because in addition to, you know, just posting newsletters, I think the engineering college has a lot of events that attract students that ASME otherwise would have a harder time, you know, reaching out to or getting in contact with. So by having greater collaboration with the engineering college and other like university organizations, ASME can like boost their recruitment just through, you know, coming in contact with more people, right? I'm trying to think of anything else. Those are two challenges that ASME needs to solve in this upcoming year. That's all I can think of right now, but there's absolutely going to be more.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much.